There's a big update in A Desrt that can increase the player base, including the Big Wheel and Rocket. And has this Big Wheel and Rocket been added to A Desrt? Let's take a look. So usually this big wheel appears from the ramp of the starter house from Untitled trip. And does this big wheel exist from the ramp? It's a shame the big wheel didn't appear on the ramp I checked. I'll check the basement and see if there's a big wheel. It turns out there are no big wheel in the basement. Then what about the attic? It turns out there's no big wheel in the attic and none in the starter house either. It seems you can get a big wheel from random buildings or by using sandbox mode. But the big wheel only has two parts, the tire and the large rim. So, the big rim slot is located near the rock slot in the sandbox menu. This is what the big rim looks like. It looks like it came from a hauler truck rim. If you want to get the big tire from the sandbox, you'll find the big tire slot near the white tire. So the name of this big tire in the sandbox menu is Tire Big. Alright, the big rim and tire are ready, so now it's time to put the big wheel on the car. The fact is, in Untitled trip, the big tire design basically looks like a tractor tire. So Dixmean's gonna redesign it into a truck tire to match big tire in A Desrt. Alright, the big wheel is ready, just gotta put in the engine first. I'll be using the default engine for the test. The sandbox mode has been updated a bit to make it easier to find items. There's a search box now, so you can look up things like engines. The engine has been spawned, but sometimes a green display appears after spawning it. It's just a visual bug though. Alright, the car and big wheels are all set, so after putting the engine in the car, there's still a visual bug. Let's make sure the fuel is filled. The gas in, but it's a bit mixed with water. No worries, the car still works. I forgot to put in the tachometer or RPM gauge in the car, but I couldn't find it when I checked in sandbox mode. I think Dixmean forgot to add the tachometer slot from sandbox mode, or maybe it has a different name. I grabbed the tachometer from another car in the garage. It's time to put it in, so I'll know when to shift at redline RPM. Okay, everything is ready. It's time to drive with the big wheels. Turns out that using big wheels makes the acceleration slower with the default engine compared to normal wheels. I think on a slight uphill, the average speed of the big wheel with the default engine is about 40 kilometers per hour. It seems the big wheel performance in A Desrt is the same as in Untitled trip. So, the average speed of the big wheel with the default engine on a flat road is 60 kilometers per hour. Alright, the speed is going down since we're on an uphill. Oh, a rocky surface. Let's see if the big wheels can get across. Looks like the big wheels can cross the rock surface without crashing and getting stuck. So, when the big wheel touches the rock surface, the suspension starts to react. There was a small crash, probably from touching the rock. Let's check the average speed when crossing a rock surface. For this test, we'll use big wheels and the default engine. The average speed when crossing a rock surface with big wheels and the default engine is between 10 and 20 kilometers per hour. Let's check if the big wheel can make it across the river. Unfortunately, the big wheel can't cross the river because the ladder's height with the big wheel isn't enough to stay above the water, so it sinks. I've used the best engine, the V8. Let's see if the big wheels run better with it. Forgot to put in a radiator. Anyway, time to test the big wheels with the V8. The big wheel accelerates more smoothly with the V8, but it's still a bit slow. I recommend using a best engine like the V8 or the electric engine for big wheels. Alright, let's see if we can go off the roadside at high speed without crashing. After stepping off to the side of the road, it turns out there was no crash. That's why cars with big wheels can easily go off the side without crashing. So the average speed of the V8 engine with big wheels is between 130 and 140 kilometers per hour. And it ended in a crash because of a small rock. There's a new item that can make cars go faster and make items fly, the turbine. I think the turbine can be found in random buildings, but it's rare since it's overpowered. When you spawn the turbine in sandbox mode, it's already filled with 5 liters of gas, but it needs gas fuel to launch. When you press the red button, the turbine will start to launch in 3 seconds. Look at that, the turbine's launching and flying. Okay, I'm going to use the turbine with the V8 engine. Can the turbine help the car accelerate faster after launching? Let's find out. First, I will press the red button to start the turbine. The nice details is that if you engage the car handbrake, the car won't move when the turbine is launched. Okay, the handbrake now off and it's time to accelerate it. That's crazy. With the V8 and turbine, it can go from 0 to 100 kilometers per hour in just 6 seconds. That acceleration is super fast. It looks like with the turbine and V8, it can reach 220 kilometers per hour in just 13 seconds. The engine will start to overheat quickly, even with a radiator with 2 fans. Ended up crashed again into a rock. There are several new items in A Desrt, starting with the bathtub. But you can sit in the bathtub to relax. Along with the bathtub, there's a teddy bear. Remember this cartoon? Yeah, this teddy bear is from Masha and the Bear. Though the model's kinda stretched, using a T-pose, it seems this teddy bear is based on the Shrek statue from Dusty Trip. The last new item is there are now a total of 8 music CDs. 3 new ones have been added. I can't play this one because of copyright. So, before adding 3 music CDs from the upcoming update, the total number of music CDs was 5. The problem with this turbine is that it doesn't have a remote to control it. Dusty Trip has a remote to turn it off. Okay, that's the biggest update in A Desrt. Don't forget to subscribe to my channel, like the video, leave a comment, and see you next time.